So this webinar is for IRL Social Skills, which is a community-based proactive approach to well-being for autistic and other socially struggling humans. I am Mara McLaughlin. I am the program director of IRL Social Skills. My pronouns are she, her, and I have 15 years of experience working with autistic and other neurodivergent humans and their families. I've also spent over half my life now as a student and a teacher of yoga and mindfulness. I'm a certified provider for the Program for the Education and Enrichment of Relational Skills, or PEERS program, which is out of UCLA. And I am a member of the Oregon Commission for Autism, appointed there in January of 2021. So my whole career has been spent working with autistic, ADHD, and other neurodivergent individuals. My the vision of IRL Social Skills, which is my baby that I started in March of 2021, is to empower autistic and other socially struggling teens, adults, and families with the skills to initiate, cultivate, and maintain relationships. So honestly, parents and caregivers are the central part of IRL Social Skills mission. Once the parents and the caregivers learn the skills, they are able to be effective social coaches for their family member well beyond the 16 weeks of our intervention. So when parents learn more about autism and other neurodivergence and how to effectively help their loved one navigate this strange, sensational social world, the whole family develops more confidence to participate in social activities and cultivate friendships. They essentially become lifelong coaches, and really at its core, IRL Social Skills is about building community. It's about community organizing, and nothing is more important right now where we find ourselves in this unique situation than cultivating community and communities of care. So I want to talk a little bit about the research into the social skills for autistic and other socially struggling teens and adults, and why this direct, explicit instruction is necessary to really make gains in social skills acquisition and the critical role that parents play in the acquisition of those skills. So we know that autistic people do it different, right? Yeah, and in our program, we want to have them be proud of their identity, not be in the so-called autism closet, if you will. And the ways that we can help them learn in a safe environment include, having a structured program, giving advance warning of any changes and extra processing time. Something that I've said in my career is autistic people need more information. That's just what they need. Allowing them to decompress and regulate their nervous system in a way that is accessible to them, as well as keeping consistent in our program. And that is really what we do. The program is very, every week, it's the same structure. We're together. I'll talk more about it. But yeah, so we know that in terms of autistic social communication, they might use, repetitive themes. There are things that they want to talk about, and sometimes the anxiety is just so high that like they're just gonna default to their like preferred topics, right? They can tend to monologue, it being a one-sided conversation, and they can struggle with providing relevant information, to the setting. I think of Grice's maxims, like the appropriate amount and for the setting. So there's the key points of we focus on the flexibility of their learning styles and how they process information. Like I said earlier, we allow escape strategies. We teach entirely via Zoom. So if somebody needs to go into a separate breakout room with a coach to, process some hard feelings. We have a four-member team, and so we have the flexibility to accommodate that and to recognize that, our teens and young adults and older adults even, they have been rejected, right? And the anxiety is real. It's the trifecta of autism, ADHD, and anxiety. And there's even more research coming out now that the ADHD neurotype might be its own thing, because it's like, what's a symptom of autism? ADHD. What's a symptom of ADHD? Autism, right? They're symptomatic of each other, but they might be their its own neurotype in and of itself. And because of the rejection, the peer rejection, there are masking and camouflaging occurs as a response. We know that, which is, by the way, detrimental to mental health. Autism, people with autism are underemployed, unemployed, to a very high degree, even though they have strong technical skills. It's the weak, soft skills that are the barrier. We also know that autistic peer-to-peer information transfer is highly effective, and the research backs that up. Also, we know something about the uncanny valley. The uncanny valley is it was a Japanese term that explains that there's someone who like seems human but not quite, like, in that it's from robotics literature, and that neurotypical peers are less likely to want to interact with their autistic peers because they don't understand the differences in autistic social communication, which can include unexpected leaps in topics, jumping from topic to topic, and so the communication partner's brain is like, what is happening? There can be a different speech prosody, the up and down of the way that our voice moves in conversation. And there can be difficulty interpreting verbal and nonverbal social cues, whether or not they are being accepted or rejected in a conversation. Like, both of those can be hard to tell. As a consequence, there is greater social isolation, of fewer close, meaningful friendships. The quality of their friendships is not great. And they might have fewer romantic relationships, even though we know that, these are human beings, and oftentimes they do want to have romantic relationships, right? But they don't know how. When you have been in a socially impoverished environment, right? You don't know how to have a friend. You don't know how to be a friend. It is a set of skills. Regardless of neurotype, it is a set of skills. And further consequences are that these people are more dependent on their caregivers. What does this look like 10 years down the road, right? When you have a 14-year-old who doesn't know how to make and keep friends, that becomes a 24-year-old living in the basement. Parents want to retire. Parents want to downsize. They can't. There's significant downstream effects. There's higher unemployment, as I mentioned, and there's less post-secondary education, because oftentimes, the people who come to us, they are smart, right? They are struggling socially, and they flame out at college because of the social demands. They can't meet the social demands. They don't understand the social milieu. Specific social consequences include peer rejection. They try to engage, but they are pushed away. It will interrupt. They'll try to tell jokes because they know that, funny people are really attractive, but they kind of like, you can't be funny all the time. I mean, that's like a real specific high level skill. They might get a bad reputation as a result. And this often co-occurs with the ADHD neurotype, impulse control problems, emotional dysregulation. Another consequence is the social isolation, right? They become wallflowers, acting shy and withdrawn. They don't know how to get in the mix. And they're lonely. They tell their parents that they want to learn these skills by being lonely, right? And this, of course, if you are peer rejected, socially isolated, shunned, excluded, ostracized, your mental health is going to suffer because we are humans and humans are social. More statistics, and these are actually from between 2016 and 2018, so rather out of date. More than 50% of autistic students who left high school, they had nothing. They maybe were on an IEP, but they graduated on a regular with a regular diploma, right? And then that's the autism cliff. There's no services after that. If they do graduate on a modified, then they still are eligible for posts for the community transition program services, 18 to 21-year-old services. But there's still a cliff after that. So then what happens? Only 35% of these brilliant people had attended college, and only 55% held paid employment during the first 6 years after high school. So what are they doing? What are they doing? More statistics. This is a mental health crisis. Now, 130, 1 in 36 children in the US are diagnosed with autism. This is not a result, by the way, of vaccines. This is a result of more effective diagnostics and and including, women and girls and Black and brown people in the being diagnosed with autism. 60% at least have experienced bullying. 1 in 4 autistic youth experience suicidal ideation even as young as age 10. And 1 in 10 are likely to attempt suicide. So when I hear these statistics, to me, it's a five-alarm fire because it doesn't have to be this way. The problem with typical intervention is that social skills training is like common with autistic children, right? Preschool through 5th grade, but then we get into the middle school, and that is ground zero for social stuff. And guess what? Students transition to the middle school and services decrease, right? So the dosage is insufficient. It is way too low to really affect change. Um, Intervention often fails to account for an autistic learning style. They don't use an evidence-based curriculum. Anybody can write a social skills program, right? Anybody can teach social skills, but does it work? And how do you know? And they're not trauma informed. I would also add that there's no parent training component. You can provide this program in the schools, and one of our coaches actually does teach what we teach in the schools, and he says it is a night and day difference between the gains that they make with IRL social skills versus the gains that they make in school. The parents really are the secret sauce. The typical social skills programs, they don't teach what are known as ecologically valid social skills that actually work in real life, right? There's no practices to practice the skills. So the skills don't generalize. We know that we've had students, if you are a provider, you've had people who can maybe like recite all these so-called rules, but they still have no friends, right? They're still eating alone at lunch. They're still out on the playground, running their fingers along the chain link fence. There's no interaction. And the data doesn't assess the durability of treatment over time. Parents are consistently saying, I go to these IEP meetings and the team is like, oh, yeah, your kid's doing great. Maybe he's doing really well academically. And, because he's doing so well academically, we're not even going to have him on an IEP anymore, right? Even though he's struggling socially. And really, social skills are where the rubber hits the road. 90% of your day is social. The rest of your day is academic skills. So these skills, you need them. And healthy relationships are mental health care. Let's face it. Because having close friends, it predicts adjustment later in life. We need people with whom we can celebrate the joys of life and people who will be there for us when things get hard, because things will inevitably get hard. And we also need to know how to be there for others. This having friends buffers the impact of stressful life events and protects against victimization by being able to have somebody who stands up for you, who has your back. Correlates positively with self-esteem and independence and negatively with depression and anxiety. And we see this happen throughout our program. Our participants come in, they're anxious, they're nervous, they're shy, their self-esteem is in the toilet. And then by the end of the 16 weeks, this is a long intervention, right? And it's consistent, weekly, it's intensive. By the end, they have come to the knowledge that, I'm not for everyone, and everyone's not for me, but I am for these people. And this is not a friendship matching group per se, but people do make friends in our group. It's also incredibly supportive for the parents. Parents need all the support they can get. It is lonely for parents. Other parents don't get it. And when they're in a space with other parents who do get it, that in and of itself is healing. So we see this, it's we see, there's the red here is 0 to 1 friends. The yellow is 2 to 3 friends. The green is 4 to 5 friends. Purple is 6 to 7 friends. 8 or more friends. The the quality. This is the cost in U.S. dollars for mental health care for people who don't have a lot of friends. And that cost goes down because we know that social connections at all stages of life are essential for physical and mental well-being. And of particular importance are the social relationships that are established during adolescence that help shape adult health behaviors and health outcomes. And teens who have higher peer status in school have better health and lower healthcare costs as young adults. So, like more of those downstream effects. So, IRL Social Skills, we've been doing this for 4 years. I have been assembling data, both qualitative and quantitative data, and I'm finally getting to the point where I'm going to have people collate that data. It's pre and post assessments. It is the practice logs that parents fill out. It is the videos of the teens and young adults, as well as the parent groups, which are private videos. I'm not sharing those at all anywhere, but they are data. And the data, like, again, how do you know a program works? You look at the data. We also want to look at the market. So, an estimated 50 million Americans are neurodivergent. And the autism treatment market size, it was valued at $4.4 billion in 2022 and is expected to grow to $8.9 billion by 2033 with a compound annual growth rate of 6.7%. So that means the market is growing every year. The ADHD therapeutic market is valued at $12.4 billion a year, expected to grow to 19.1 billion by 2030 with a compound annual growth rate of 5.5%. So there is a lot of opportunity to help people in this space. People are looking for help. And we use UCLA's Peers program as a model because of the intensive dosage. It's a 16-week program, right? And it is evidence-based. There's over 50 studies worldwide on the effectiveness of peers, including randomized controlled trials, which are the gold standard of research. It is recognized in the University of North Carolina's 2020 National Clearinghouse for Autistic Evidence and Practices as the only proven social skills program available for teens and adults. Why? Because the majority of research dollars goes to explore the question, why do you exist? Why are you here? Instead of the better research question, which is, what can we do for you to help you live a rich life now that you're here? The program focuses on, it uses a Socratic method of inquiry, and task analyses. So concrete rules and steps. The Socratic method of inquiry. What could be the problem with doing this? And you're kind of pulling out the answers by the way you frame the questions. And so then it's like they've come to this knowledge by themselves, they've thought of this by themselves. And it focuses on friendships and relationships of all kinds. It's a strengths-based approach. We know that you have to play to the strengths. And all of our participants have strengths. I mean, our typical participant is really smart, struggling socially. We have had non-speaking autistic people in our program. They are welcome. That's my specific area of expertise. As long as they have a functional way to express themselves, using low or high tech, they are welcome. The inclusion of the social coach, again, is the secret sauce. It helps with the generalization of those skills. Oftentimes, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, right? And parents are like, I really want to help my kid, but I'm not very good at these skills. I don't know how to teach these skills. And the longitudinal data shows that the effects last over time. I also want to mention that is actively supported by the autism community. Now, some people, there's a debate like, oh, teaching social skills is ableist. It is ableist to not teach social skills. Why are you going to let somebody be lonely with a lifespan of between 38 to 54 years, largely due to suicide, and not intervene and not teach them the skills? I mean, the onus is on us as professionals to teach these skills. Speaking of proof, this is just one data point. This is from the test of young adult social skills knowledge and the test of adolescent social skills knowledge. The pre-test here, post-test here. On average, the young adult and teen participants' knowledge of social skills increased 48 to 48% for the young adults and 42% for the teens. Now, this is the knowledge, right? And then we have the qualitative data to support our program's efficacy, which is the stories they tell about their growth. That's the qualitative data. So our team includes 3 speech language pathologists, well, 2 are special educators, and 2 of us are bilingual Spanish speakers. I also have a graduate student who is in her first year, actually autistic, working with us. I have 2 native Spanish speaking UCLA trained clinicians. I have 1 occupational therapist right now. I have 2 licensed mental health providers, 2 learning specialists, 1 direct support professional, and 1 certified peer counselor. So my team is neurodivergent, autistic, ADHD, trans, very representative. Representation matters. And this is how we do it. So we teach entirely via Zoom. So this is an accessible program. And we all start together in the same Zoom room with 15 minutes of nervous system education based in interoception, as well as something called somatic experiencing. Soma means body. Somatic experiencing is the experience of your body. And it is specifically used to tune into one's physical sensations and to recognize the trauma responses of fight, flight, freeze, and fawn, as well as how we can co-regulate and self-regulate ultimately. But really, co-regulation is the name of the game. And then we break out into 2 separate Zoom rooms. The teens or young adults are with 2 coaches, and the parents are with 2 coaches. I have an interdisciplinary team by design because everybody comes with their own lenses, right? And their own lived experience. And that is super valuable. It is, in fact, like what Dr. Vivek Murthy, who is the Surgeon General of the United States, said is the dream of healthcare, is to have an interdisciplinary group-based setting because we heal in community. There is in-session practice for the teens or young adults, and there are practices to complete each week. People, I'm always available because this is my baby, and this is more support then parents and families really, it's more support than they've ever gotten. And they come to trust us pretty early on in the process. I am still in touch with families, with the first 5 families who started our program, because if this is about building and maintaining relationships, that's what you got to do. We created our own adult program, and this is by demand because adults were reaching out to us and saying, I'm not a teen or a young adult, but I'm not very good at these skills. I want to learn these skills. I just got a diagnosis or identification of autism and or ADHD, and they might be people who are, they're like married with kids, working, getting passed up for promotions because of their social skills. Or they're like, I used to have friends and now I don't. And I don't know how to make friends. And, it is harder as you get older, but it is not impossible. It is a set of skills. And this are the 12-week program that we wrote. It meets once a week. It's an hour and a half. There's no coach. And the curriculum focuses on reciprocal conversation skills, the basics of that, emotional intelligence, dating and intimate partnerships, as well as the world of work, workplace communication, digital communication, collaboration and feedback, conflict resolution at work, as well as networking. And it's been amazing to get the feedback from the adults about how they are using these skills in real life. So let's hear from folks and see what they say about our program. So this is an audiogram of one teen.
I would recommend the class no matter what age you are. The coaches are really nice, no matter if you're a teen or a older adult. There's a lot of people that can benefit from this class, even if you feel like it might not be the most helpful. It helped me more than I thought it would.
This is from a parent from one of our earliest classes.
Hello, my name is Sonia. I have a 15-year-old son on the autism spectrum. We've joined many social skills classes in the past, and I recently just found IRL Social Skills group. They're based in Portland, Oregon, and they've been so helpful. They have taught my son and me so many skills that are things that I wouldn't even have thought of to teach my son. They actually teach the kids separately, and at the same time meet with the adults that they call coaches, and teach us how to better support our children socially. So my son has learned so many new skills and also so many conversation skills that he didn't have in the past that now he has. We also get to practice it within the group during the week, calling each other and practicing our skills and practicing what we've learned with family and friends. It's been a wonderful experience, and I highly recommend them.
Thanks, Sonia. This is a news clip. We were featured on the news here in Portland, Oregon. And this is an 11-year-old and his grandfather.
Growing trend, social skills instruction designed to help children and young adults communicate better, meet new friends, and develop empathy. Libby Dowsett takes a look at a Portland organization that's getting national attention for its skills training program.
Portland's IRL Social Skills organization is in the spotlight. It is featured in the New York Times. It's a local company that focuses on important lessons, often overlooked by schools and parents.
It's to help you make friends in real life.
Logan Stites was 4 when he came to live with his foster parent and now guardian, Gary Rao.
He was diagnosed with ADHD, oppositional defiant disorder, and sensory deficiency.
Growing up with an older guardian, Logan, now in 6th grade, has learned to interact with people well beyond his years.
It was a single grandfather raising him, And so he's taken on a lot of personality of adults and somewhat scares his peers.
Raul decided Logan needed better social interaction with kids his own age. So he reached out to IRL Social Skills, a Portland-based group that provides skills training for neurodivergent and autistic youth.
The challenges are specifically with sensory processing, social interaction, and social communication. And what is necessary is to intervene directly and explicitly to both the individual as well as the family.
Mara McLaughlin from IRL said the program caters to individual needs of children or young adults to teach topics schools don't always cover.
They forget about the behavioral compact of being able to make friends, to be able to ask questions, to be able to seek out common interest.
Logan says the program's really helped him, and he recommends it.
It's definitely a learning curve, that's for sure, for comfort. But then again, you'll also be able to learn about trading information, being able to find common interests, stuff like that.
Stuff that can help Logan and other young people expand their circle.
I got to meet a few new people, and not only that, but I've gotten a bit nicer as well.
The group's founder said many of these young people are shunned or bullied, and because of that, they can become easy targets for groups like neo-Nazis who recruit youths. She said skills training gives young people confidence to stand on their own. Libby Dowsett, KGW News.
Yes. And that is something that I will say anytime I'm interviewed on a podcast or in print, is that, there is research and it is proven that people who are socially gullible are being victimized, even on like Minecraft, to recruit into white supremacist movements. Another case study, Karen enrolled her son when he was having a rough time during the pandemic, because remember, we were still in a pandemic in March of 2021. Started to isolate and withdraw, and then he learned skills with us. He was able to help navigate social situations. He even began dating. He came out as gay with a loud color bomb during our program because he got the confidence to be able to do so. And we were just so thrilled with that. Another parent, this is actually a parent who is back in our program again. I often have people come back and repeat 2-3 times, which speaks to the fact that this is an effective intervention and that these are hard skills, right? Both are true. My kiddo and I took this class. It was a total game changer. It's hard to watch your child struggle with making friends. In fact, it was heartbreaking for me as a parent. I was lost on how to help because I too am an introvert. This class tackles the whole issue, giving parents tools to help and teaching kids the skills to make friends. I wish there had been something like this program when my oldest child was younger. And also, this parent is going to take our adult program because she's like, I know that it starts with me. And parents learn that, that they go first, right? And yeah, speaking of another parent, it's another parent talking about how this program helped.
He was being bullied in school as we were doing the bullying sessions, and he came home all excited to tell me about how he handled it, which was kind of a trip. Like, oh wow, you're excited to tell me about getting bullied at school, because he knew what to do and he handled it effectively, and it helps me to more effectively communicate with the school, to have some specific things to reference.
Yeah, that parent was able to go to the school and advocate for her son around the bullying. And it was really, really helpful. And this, just to finish up, this is an email from a participant, 15 years old. I want to reach out and thank all of you for your guidance and teaching. You've helped me learn new skills and to be more intentional with my words during social interactions. These skills will help me for the rest of my life. I sincerely appreciate the program you offer because I know it has helped and will continue to help so many people. Thank you again. So, yeah, so now it's just time for any questions you have. You can like come off mute or put them in the chat.
I'm familiar with peers because I worked in an autism support program in a school, but I wasn't implementing it. It was more like the case managers. So I'm curious, like, what kind of support would be offered, or like, what would that look like getting started up?
Um, for for you as a provider? Yeah, well, I
Yes.
mean, I would train you. I have a 2-day training with like video examples and to orient you to this. I mean, Peers is an enormous curriculum. We have changed it because the first editions were put out in 2010 and 2012 for teens and young adults, respectively. This is a changed world. And so we have changed it based on like more current research, actually, by actually autistic researchers, and as well as based on our experience providing this intervention. So yeah, I mean, there's a 2-day training that I do for providers, and it is manualized. So it's a manual. You can be like reading from the manual, and we have all of the class materials in our program drive, so that is able to, for access. Additionally, I always put every new provider with an experienced coach so that there's that scaffolding. Yeah, good question. So, in closing, I just want to thank you for being here. Is there any other questions? Go ahead, Amy.
I do have just one quick one, sorry. How do you determine like who is with the clients or students versus the parents, or is that like an alternating situation?
That's a great question. I always like to have a parent, a provider who is a parent with the parents, for that, that lived experience component. And I always like to have a mental health provider with the parents. So that is my criteria for the people who are with the parents. It doesn't always happen. Right now, one of my programs, I have myself and another SLP are with the parents. I'm always with the parent. It is really a parent training program. And yeah, and I would just want to have an interdisciplinary team. I like to have SLP, OT, learning specialist, mental health provider, or direct support professional instead of learning specialist, or peer support counselor instead of learning specialist. Yeah. Yeah, of course. And so I'll follow up with you, and thank you so much for being here. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Amy. Talk to you later.
Take care.
You too. Hey, come off mute.